When we say charge on, we commit to do extraordinary things. It's a catalyst for action. To put in the work. To keep trying. It's a challenge. To be smarter and stronger. Charge on. It drives us to be more. To get after it every day. It's time to rise above. To let them know we're coming. Charge on. Charge on.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Research Recovery and Reskill webinar. This is our first webinar of the fall series. Thank you for making time in your schedules to join us. I'm Susan Vernon-Devlin, Manager of Communications and Marketing here at Rosen College. I will be your moderator for the webinar. Today, our topic of discussion is mentoring, connecting mentees and mentors. Professor Deb Weissberg, fondly known as Professor Deb, will be presenting. Before we get started, first a bit of housekeeping. Attendees, we will use the question and answer feature for your comments and your questions, so please place them there throughout the presentation. We will respond to your questions at the end of the presentation or during the presentation if there's time. If your question is the same or similar to another question, we will only respond once. If we don't get to your question during the presentation or after, we will try and contact you afterwards to respond to your question. And now, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Dr. Yucheng Wang, Dean of Rosen College of Hospitality Management, to get our webinar started and introduce our presenter. Dr. Wang.
Thank you, Susan. Good afternoon, everybody. Greetings from the UCF Rosen College of Hospitality Management. Thank you very much for joining us for the series of webinars we set up for the fall 2020 semester. Again, my name is Yucheng Wang. I'm the Dean of UCF Rosen College of Hospitality Management. For those of you who participating in our summer seminars, this is basically continuation and expansion from the summer activities into the fall semester. So we provided about 14 or 15 seminars during the summertime, and we have a similar set of seminars set up for the fall semester and hopefully beyond. The mission here at Rosen College is very clear. We want to be the global center of excellence in research, teaching, scholarship, industry engagement, and distinctive impact. And in doing so, we want to make sure that we provide our best service to our most important stakeholders. So these seminars are open to the alumni, our industry partners, and also our students. I hope that you will enjoy the topics we set up for you for the remaining part of the semester. So without further ado, I would like to invite my colleague, dear Deb Weissberg. Her nickname is also called Professor Deb by the students. Today's topic, as mentioned by Susan, is related to mentorship, which is a very, very important topic. It's a topic probably we all need at a very, very difficult time in terms of how to make connections and how to make impact. So I hope that you will enjoy the information presented. So with that, Deb, please take over.
Thank you, Dean Wang. It's always a pleasure to be sitting with you or on a screen with you. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to be talking to you about mentoring, which is a wonderful and very important topic. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. When you have questions, if you type them in, I'm happy to be interrupted to answer as we go. And one moment, and we will start to begin to look at mentorship. Okay. So, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, Rosen College alumni. I hope I have a lot of past students sitting here. Hello, industry partners who are so valuable to us with their wisdom and opportunities and availability for our students. And hello, beloved Rosen College students. It's wonderful to be with you all today. In this time when we're apart, this is a great way to be together. And mentorship is also another way as well. So today we're going to talk about mentorship, making meaning and impactful connections. Just a touch about me. My students call me Professor Deb. I've been teaching at the Rosen College of Hospitality Management. I'm in my 11th year. I've taught close to 5,000 students, and I'm honored to say I was chosen as Faculty Member of the Year in 2018. I teach 3 courses: Intro to Hospitality and Tourism, where we build very firm roots and we welcome the new Rosen College students. I teach Guest Service Management, which is an affair of the heart, and Hospitality Communications, where we pursue dream jobs, study intercultural communications, and many other topics, and that course gives my students wings to fly. Because I'm in this unique role of teaching a dream job boot camp, I've been able to help more than 1,000 students with job opportunities, including one at the White House and the Michelle Obama event planning team. So I fill the role of mentor to many of my students, past and present. And so a lot of this presentation will be based on research, and a fair bit is also based on sharing experience. I've also gotten some feedback from mentees, so we can manage expectations and know what role we are to fulfill as mentors and as mentees. So before we begin, I'd like to tell you what is in this for you. Studies show that those with highly successful careers have mentors. And to be a great mentor, it's great to have a great mentor because we don't always have the answers for all of the questions. So I'd like to begin by offering a definition of mentoring and take a look at exactly what it involves. So, mentoring is a supportive learning relationship between a caring individual who shares knowledge, experience, and wisdom with another individual who is ready and willing to benefit from the exchange to enrich their professional journey. So we have, as mentors, we have a role of being supportive, but also to sharing our experience and wisdom with someone who doesn't have that same experience and wisdom, but would benefit from it. So there has to be a willingness to give and also a willingness to receive. And I'd also like to point out to enrich their professional journey. So when I am a mentor, although I like to be there for my mentees in many ways, I have to remember I'm not a psychologist, that sometimes pointing a mentee in the right direction of what they need is also the job of a mentor. So there are 14 reasons for having a mentor. Although I researched this, I reflected upon these, and my mentors do all of this for me. Number 1, they've been there and done that. So you don't have to figure out things for the first time. They'll share their experience. Number 2, they're an unbiased third party to run ideas past. Or if you're having a little problem and you think, should you bring it up, you can go to your mentor. Sometimes they'll tell you it might be better if you just talk to me. Mentors are number 3, the best free service you can get. Mentors choose to be mentors, to be giving, to have their experience benefit the next generation. phenomenal free service. I could not pay my mentors because I don't have enough money, access to their network. For mentees, I'd like to ask you to be very careful here. Sometimes a mentor will invite you along to an event, and that's wonderful. But we have to remember that our mentors are there to guide us, not be job seekers for us. We want to be very careful not to overstep the bounds. Opportunities for career paths and growth and development. I teach at Rosen College because my mentor saw something in me that I didn't know I had and invited me to teach. And I tried to do this also with my mentees. Sometimes I can envision things for my mentees that are so easy for me that my mentees didn't really consider before. Mentors also, number 6, share insight and advice. It should be a safe place to go to seek the truth. As I said before, have a mentor and you're more likely to succeed. They can save you, number 8, a lot of time and money because you don't have to make expensive mistakes. Number 9, they can help you make the right choice. I try not to make big decisions without the input of my mentors. Number 10 or number 9, they serve as an inspiration. My mentor, one of the things that my primary mentor, Dr. Fevzio Kumis, says to me a lot is, I'm very proud of you. And that really makes me feel like I'm on the right path, and it's some of the satisfaction I need. They also, mentors can help you see the future. Is it a good decision, not just for now, but for your future? Your mentor helps you face the truth. They know what it is like, and they share your core values for your success. I'm not talking about every value. And I think in a mentor-mentee relationship, like we don't discuss politics and religion, those aren't the core values we're talking about. We're talking about a commitment, for instance, to our 3 pillars: service, professionalism, and leadership. A mentor needs a mentor, and these are mine. Dr. Fevziokumis is my primary mentor. Our Dean Emeritus, Dean Pazam, I don't even think knows he's my mentor, but I cling to everything he says and follow direction. My past boss, Dr. Kevin Murphy, was first a boss and became a mentor. And then Mitzi Malloy, a senior vice president at U.S. Trust, fulfills my mentoring needs on a personal and spiritual basis. So as you can see, you might have different mentors for different aspects of your life. Mentoring is a relationship. It is a very trusted relationship. And whether the mentor or the mentee, it is invaluable. And relationships take time. So don't expect that it should happen overnight. As you get together and you listen, you feel trusting enough to ask for input from your mentor, trust is built and success ensues. There are 3 C's of mentorship. As mentors, these are the roles that we fulfill. We're a consultant. That is our primary role. So when job opportunities come up, overseas internships, study abroad, volunteerism, leadership promotion, going to your mentor is ideal. They will play back for you what they see. Embedded with their feedback is their knowledge and insight. And mentors always want the best for their mentees. A counselor, a professional counselor. A lot of times, maybe you're having trouble with someone at work. Maybe you're having trouble with a leader, or they're not noticing you enough, or you want to grow and develop and don't know how. Our mentors will show us the way, often give us the resources that we need, and then we make our own decisions. And third, and I think my mentees might say most importantly, your mentor is your cheerleader. We are so happy for your accomplishments. As a mentor, I'll give you one bit of advice. Share with your mentor when something good happens. They invest a lot in you and they deserve the joy and pleasure of your victories. Relationship building. How does this happen, my friends? I was trying to envision how a mentor could be put in the same situation that I've been to be able to mentor my mentees so well. For me, the relationship building happens and I get to know my mentees because I teach a class that I'm going through: resumes, cover letters, interview prep, elevator speeches. And I thought that really informs me to be able to guide each of my mentees very individually because, of course, we need individual guidance. So I thought a great first meeting might consist of the mentee walking the mentor through their resume. The mentor won't be judging your resume, they'll get to know you. And maybe your elevator speech, you'll tell them a little bit about yourself. And if mentors choose to share yours back too, would just really, what would take hours and hours to get to know, if you go through these pieces together, you should know one another rather well. The role of a mentor. Investing your mentees' stories. It's really, really important to know your mentees. Share your vision, whether it's your vision for customer service, your vision for leadership, or your vision for them. Sharing a vision is very inspiring. Support your employees, yet challenge them. My mentees have come to me with opportunities and they didn't think they were ready. And we get ready, and I do challenge my mentees to do things that they don't know that they can do, but I feel very assured that they will be great. Be a role model. We have to practice what we teach. As mentors, we are teachers. Role modeling kindness, how to create relationships, how to bite the bullet sometimes. It's very, very helpful. My mentors are always role models for me. Genuine interest creates safety, and safety is necessary for this relationship. And then, of course, your experience and insights are invaluable. So as mentors, a couple other things that we can do to make this relationship, to maximize the relationship. One is ask questions to act as a sounding board. Number two, provide helpful feedback. I always frame mine around, let me tell you what I'm thinking. Acknowledge achievements. Oh, it feels so good when I have an achievement and my mentors are proud. It's hard with busy schedules, but mentors and mentees need to respect one another's time and be consistent. Show up, put your phones away, give full attention to the time that you spend together, and mentees even more so us. And of course, mentors, we try to recognize the differences and similarities in our mentees. We never judge, but instead meet our mentees where they are. And what great qualities do mentors have? I asked some of my mentees and current students, what are you looking for in an excellent mentor? Here's their list. Someone who is successful in their career and has knowledge to share. Someone who's a good listener and a sounding board. Someone who is flexible. You know, we need flexibility in this current time. They're looking for someone who values a diversity of perspectives. And my primary mentor is Turkish. And I like that a lot because I get a different global perspective on things as well. They're hoping that their mentors will not judge them so that they can be honest and candid in the relationship. And they are expecting constructive feedback. So as mentors, you know, I always deliver my constructive feedback gently, but honestly. And also they're hoping that you'll have time to devote to developing others and the desire, and that you'll be eager to learn about them. What they're hoping, what students are looking for in a successful mentor, to be kind, honest, respectful, a strong communicator, patient, trustworthy, understanding, passionate, enthusiastic, and open-minded. So these are really attitudinal. A mentor does get you to your goals faster, more efficiently, and more joyfully. We can miss some of the potholes of life. If our mentor has been there, they will steer us out of that direction. And we become more efficient because our mentors point us in the right direction because they know. Now, how to be a great mentee. I know my students enter these relationships wanting to be great and not always knowing what is expected. So I think this is a valuable piece too. And mentors, this is what you can expect from your mentees. Mentees, please open up and be honest. Your mentors are here because they long to help the next generation. I've learned through my experience with mentoring, I'm never as well off as if I asked my mentor about most of my decisions. So my mentors don't mind me asking, and I don't mind asking for their wisdom and insight. My mentors know more than I do. That's why I selected them to be my mentors. If you don't understand or you don't agree with the advice, you can ask your mentor to explain a little more. And once in a while, you might even say, no, I'm just not comfortable with that. Your mentor doesn't get mad at you. Mentees show appreciation. As mentors, it feels very good to know that we're making an impact. So it's wonderful to thank your mentors often and be loyal to them. My mentors have changed my whole life. My loyalty to my mentors is without limits, and always be respectful. Even if you grow close, you call them by the name that they ask to be called. You use your manners. Hopefully this is how you act. You showcase your professionalism, service, and leadership. What mentees hope for: knowledge, availability, someone who truly wants to be there, truly wants to help, and then has your best interest in mind. A little bit more mentees about your responsibility. Take the advice your mentors offer, at least almost all the time. Once in a while, your mentor has a suggestion that just doesn't feel good, and that's okay. But for the most part, they are giving you the wisdom of their professionalism and their life experience. And I find taking my mentor's advice always leads me in the right direction. Take action. Please take action. And ask for more. Knowledge is power. So I always checked in with my mentor about what things I should do studies on in school, so I would have the best education I could. Here are a couple comments from students that I thought the mentors might like to hear. As a mentee, what I would want from a mentor is confidence in myself. So mentors, I don't know if you would agree with me, but really self-confidence comes from the self. And so I don't know as mentors if we can really give someone confidence in themselves, but here's what I can do for my mentees. I can tell them self-confidence is about self-esteem. Self-esteem is built by esteemable acts. So if you want to feel more confident, look for someone you can help and give without wanting anything in return. Esteemable acts that build self-esteem make us feel good about ourselves as well. So I don't always have the answer. I might have the philosophy behind the answer. I would want my mentor to reassure me I'm heading in the right direction and taking the right steps for my future. I love that because I feel like as mentors, that's what we do naturally. That's why we've offered to be mentors. And I would also look to their knowledge to give advice for any obstacles I might face. The young lady who submitted that, I think she'll be very happy because mentoring certainly benefits from that. Trust and respect. I'm wrapping up the presentation with this because I want to give you some time for questions. But trust and respect are the foundation of a mentor-mentee relationship. We earn trust, and this takes time. So I know with my mentees, sometimes I have to be patient with them to fully open up with me. Both people demonstrate respect and support at all times. Gratitude and appreciation are the foundations of the relationship. I must say, what often follows is a love for one another. Mentees do not ask for referrals or jobs or contacts. Your mentor is there to be your professional counselor and guide. I would never want them to feel like we're putting them in a bad position. If they have something to offer us, they will. And do ask for advice, guidance, and honesty. And we will tell our mentees, we'll say what we mean and we'll mean what we say, but we won't say it mean. The power of mentoring is the delicate balance of mentoring someone is not creating them in your own image, but giving them the opportunity to create themselves. Well said, Steven Spielberg. And that, my friends, is the end of my presentation part. And I'd like to open the floor to you to answer any questions or have any discussions that are on your mind. And I want to thank you all. Thank you for offering to be mentors of our next generation. You have no idea how happy and rich your life becomes in this role.
Thank you, Professor Deb. We really appreciate your presentation. We're going to start now with some questions from our attendees. And we'll start with the one that should come at the beginning from Sarah Perez. How do I find a mentor? Who do I ask to become my mentor?
Can we find out, is Sarah Perez a student or an alumni?
Not right this second, but
okay, then I will speak to both. So what I advise is this: when you're looking for a mentor, you want to choose someone who has what you want. They are called your who's in life. If someone has what you want, if they've been down the same career path, you love their leadership style, you see people responding to them in a way that you have dreams of being responded to, this person appears to be your who, your mentor. And these people in life have walked the path you hope to walk. So first thing I think I do is I look for someone who has what I want. And I look for personal characteristics in that too. When you're in school, you have professors, other students. We have an amazing mentorship program. So you might find your mentor in our peer outreach mentor program and POMP, which is great. But also you might be at work or you might be in social groups. And you ask someone to be a mentor almost the same way you ask someone out to lunch. You know, Professor Deb, would you be my mentor? And I almost always say yes, explaining my limitations, because we have to know how much we have to give. So at work, and they don't need to be in your department, someone you look up to, sometimes your parents have friends in the same business. Get to know them, show them your resume. You know, a lot of us would like, it's a big compliment to ask someone to be your mentor. I hope that answered your question. I cannot hear you.
Thanks, Professor Deb. We have another question on, you mentioned having a personal mentor and a professional mentor. So how do you know how much personal information to share with a professional mentor?
My professional mentor was my professor in college. And over the years, I see him guide me more and more, knowing who I am and what my areas of vulnerability are. How much did I tell him in the beginning? I didn't tell him every time I broke a nail or had a fight with a friend. But if something big was happening, I might go to him for guidance, not expecting him to solve relationship issues with me, but maybe to give me some guidance, maybe to point me in another direction. I don't want to burden my mentor with all of my personal life issues, but the truth is you won't be able to guide me unless you know I'm a mother and I work 80 hours a week and I try to do yoga to balance. So I think we don't want to burden our mentor, but we do have to let them get to know us. And if a lot of the new generation wants a work-life balance, which is a lofty goal, truly, because I would like one too. But I think that we can be honest with our mentors, but if our mentors tell us, do not go to a job interview and talk about that, I would listen to my mentor regarding that too. And of course, certain things that another woman might understand. So I might go to a personal mentor for that. But having a variety of people who mentor, and don't forget, I'm old. So at 57, I've collected mentors over the years as well. I hope that answers.
Thank you, Professor Deb. Since you mentioned age, we have a question who, Dr. Mejia actually wants to know if you can comment or address the issue of age range for mentors. Is it okay to have an older mentor or a younger mentor? Is there a rule about age and mentors? Can they be anyone?
Well, number one, let me answer the question. Yes, your mentor can be anyone who has what you want. So indeed, yes. And they might not be a mentor for everything. Overall, you want your mentor to be more experienced with than you in the areas that you're looking for help, because experience equals knowledge or wisdom. But there is no age range. I would choose someone, if you want a mentor younger than you, you should look at why. Are you looking to it, is it that you want someone to impress, or they just have this phenomenal experience or phenomenal skill set or phenomenal way of thinking that you would benefit from? Typically, is it someone older and wiser? Yes. And I also like cross-cultural mentors because we get a richness of thinking from being exposed to diverse types of thinking. So I like that. I like that I have an international mentor as well.
Okay, thank you. So how often should you check in with your mentor, or how often should a mentee go to their mentor? I mean, you mentioned sharing different incidents in your life with them, but how much is too much and how much is too little?
You do want to go to your mentor, but you do not want to be a burden to them. So that's one of the things I think that you define in that first session when you're getting to know one another. How much would you like to hear from me? And I mentor a lot of people because I've taught a lot of people. I'd like to hear from every mentee every day, but there are not enough hours and I couldn't work. So you have to design something that works for both of you. Who needs to be flexible? The mentee needs to be flexible if we can. If my mentor tells me we're meeting at midnight, I'm like, super, that's just the perfect time for me. But I think you should, if it's an emergency and I'm your mentor, morning, noon, or night, that's an emergency, I am here. I don't want you to walk the path alone anymore. You have a mentor. But you don't want to burden your mentor either. So ask them. We live in a days of texting where some of my students text me every morning to say good morning. You have to ask, is that good or is that bad? Or if you've encountered something, mentee or mentor, you learned something great in school that you think your mentor would like, Do you send it to them? Well, I think so, because there's some mutual benefit that happens from the mentee to the mentor as well. My mentees keep me young and current and cool. That would not be happening without young people in my life informing me.
Thank you. We have a question from Matthew Temmer, and I know Matthew's an alumni.
And he's my mentee.
Okay. He wants to know, have you observed any changes in the mentor-mentee relationship from the COVID-19 pandemic? Any improvements or challenges to mentorship as a result of this?
Hello, dear Matthew. It's a joy to answer your question. COVID-19 has impacted everything. So indeed, it has impacted the mentor-mentee relationship as well. How can it not? It's redefining what's going on, and our industry is so impacted by it. So how has it changed the relationships? I think I have to be a comforter a little more than in normal times, and a cheerleader, and remind my mentees. I have a mentee who was hired at VIP Disney Tours, and it was her dream job, and she is amazing. She got one of the most challenging jobs there is, and she was furloughed. And the work toward getting this dream job, and then the furlough. And when she called, we both cried. And I said to her, honey, they saw what you were before, and you haven't changed. So we're going to have some faith, and you might, it's character building times like this. I see some of my straight A students in Publix right now waiting out the pandemic. So I think we have to bravely walk hand in hand together, mentees and mentors, to build character, survive the times, stand up for what's right, consider opening up our options. We don't have to give up our dreams, but we might have to shift them a little or practice patience. So during COVID-19, besides love, support, hope, empathy, we also want to talk to our mentees about highly transferable skills and being patient, growing. Oh, and also learning. I've written a lot of letters for graduate school, because right now they cannot take learning away from us. So we mentors have to think outside of the box, the mentees do, and we need to be together, because during challenging times, or during all times, relationships are the most important thing in the world. And this is a very valuable relationship. So Matthew, thank you for all the years that you've been a wonderful mentee, and thank you for asking a question.
Thank you. We have a question from Catherine. She said, do you need to be well established in your career to be a mentor? What if I'm furloughed now? Does that diminish my qualifications?
Absolutely not. You have more time to reflect and organize your thinking, and no, you can be a mentor as long as you have one thing that your mentee doesn't that you can share with them. You're qualified to be a mentor. And being furloughed, I think this is what I know. Anytime when I'm in a tough spot, doing service gets me out of myself, out of that thinking, and makes my spirit soar. So I think it's perfect for someone who's on furlough right now. It will lead you back to excitement, growth, giving, all of the things that we choose our industry for. No, you do not have to be deep in your career. I think the first and most important thing is that you want to help. If you want to help, you've taken classes that they haven't, you've had jobs that they haven't, you've volunteered where someone hasn't, or differently. I think that anytime anyone asks you to be their mentor, first of all, I know with my students, it takes them some courage to ask. So don't look at it as something light. To the mentee asking you, this might have been a very courageous step to take. And we have a lot to offer. We have a lot to offer the next generation, even if we're only a year and a half older than them. So I hope that you will be a mentor of many for the rest of your life. It is, if I didn't say it in the presentation, It is so uniquely satisfying. And your mentees' accomplishments, you feel like they're your own. It's just this incredible, powerful legacy that you leave, but you don't do it to leave a legacy. You just are, you're drawn toward the person, you're compelled to help, and you have some experience to share.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have a question from Nicole Medina. She said she wants to know what has been one of the biggest struggles as a mentor that you have encountered personally.
What is the name again?
Nicole.
Hello, Nicole. Hi, I'm happy to answer this question. Some of the biggest challenges. One is if outside help is needed. If my mentee comes to me and they really need a counselor. It's not one of the biggest, but I really have to like help them make the appointment, escort them to the area. If I know it's out of my range, I never want to hurt a mentee, you know, even with the best intentions. Some of the hard things also, Nicole, sometimes asking my mentee to look at themselves, right? I teach communications and conflict resolution. When we're having an issue with someone else, we always have a part in it, even if it's that we showed up. So I often will ask my mentees, you know, they'll come to me with a problem with someone else and I'm like, what's your part in this? What's your part? Trying to teach someone. And your part might be you're mixing with the wrong crowd. Well, then those aren't the right friends for you. So sometimes having to ask my mentees to reflect on their parts to build the skill set, that can sometimes be a little challenging, but I deliver it very gently, and there's great power in this. If you show up to an argument and you tell the other person what your part is, I know I did X, Y, Z, you hardly have a conflict anymore. So some of it is character building issues as well. And once in a while, Nicole, my mentee won't believe me. I'll tell them the truth about something that I learned from research that's been proven, and they don't believe me. And I don't have the time or energy to start to defend a position with a mentee. So then I tell them, go read this article, go look at this website. This is why I'm thinking, then come back and we'll discuss it again. Because that's one thing. I don't have the energy to debate every bit of experience, strength, and hope that I present to a mentee. So sometimes that can be a little taxing, but I'm lucky my mentees are my students, so I know what they've learned. I try to refer to learning for guidance as well.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Ivy. Ivy wants to know, are we able to mentor one another as students, or do we need more experience in order to be considered a mentor? And I know you mentioned POMP earlier in your presentation.
I think yes and no is what I'd like to say. Yes, you can mentor a student. And if you want to at Rosen College, the best thing at Rosen, one of the very best opportunities you have at Rosen College is POMP, a very huge award-winning peer mentor program. But I want to say, and that's usually upperclassmen, or you go in as a mentee, you learn how to fulfill that role, then you're a mentor. And I like that a lot. And I imagine some of those relationships will last for a lifetime. But there's an opportunity here that's different than that. And take some courage. So I know some of my mentees are like, you know what, I'll just take a mentor from POMP. That feels a little more comfortable. Get out of your comfort zone. And also you can have a mentor at school. I think that's beautiful. But an industry mentor would be very helpful too. And remember, when we allow someone to help us, we're giving them the opportunity to feel good as well. You know, mentoring wipes away this very bad thinking that asking for help makes us weak. Asking for help makes us strong. The realization that we cannot hold up the universe, you know, and we need others, and we have the humility to ask for help is very important. And mentorship is a great training ground for that as well.
We're just going to answer a few more questions because we're running out of time. Samantha Bonbon wants to know, how many mentors should you have? How many is too much? How many
I
mentors do you
consider
have?
Samantha to also be a mentee of mine. Bonjour, Samantha. How many should you have? I would start with one. Learn how to have the relationship. But once it, you know, in my lifetime, I just had, you know, Dr. Akumas was my mentor. And then I had Mitzi on the side. But then I became impassioned to fulfill Dean Pazam's vision. And then I had a boss who just saw the best in me and was more than a boss and a leader. He, you know, it switched into a mentoring relationship as well. So Samantha, dear, start with one. Maybe you have one at school, me. Maybe now one in the field. And if you're at a company already, look for, and also you might hear a no once in a while. And I know that will hurt. It's just not meant to be, and there's a better mentor for you out there. Maybe someone just doesn't have the time. It's not that they don't see your potential. Sometimes I might have to say no. That's because there's someone better. Maybe you want PR and Susan should be your mentor, not me. So we have to also let this process flow and understand if someone says no. But Samantha, maybe one at work now could be nice.
Since you brought up the no, Professor Deb, I'm going to combine two questions from JT and Amanda. Could there be a time where you respectfully deny you don't want to be someone's mentor because you don't feel you have enough to offer yet? And is it okay to tell somebody no, you don't want to be their mentor, and because you can't keep the commitment anymore?
Yes. A lot of, first of all, and is this JT Hamby?
Yes.
I haven't seen her in a long time. Hello, dear. Oh, I'm so excited. Yes, we can say no. And no is a full sentence. Please remember you have the tender hearts and souls of my students that you're saying no to. So explaining why is helpful. Saying and really knowing that there's probably someone better, or like if someone needs a mentor, needs me to be their mentor, calling me 3 days a week during a semester, I have to tell them, you only think you want me. You know, you can't even reach me by email 3 times a week. So there might be times when you can't fit their needs. And that no is actually a kind no, because, or if we know it's too much, and you know what, once in a while, friends, the chemistry doesn't gel. You know, so do you want to do that to yourself and your mentee? It might just be that, you know, they march to the left naturally and you march, you know, in a straight line, and that won't, I think you need to say, I believe someone else will be better. Or I think I can't fit the bill for you right now. Like I really can't take 3 calls a week from a mentee. So I would rather send them to someone. I'm not the only good mentor in the world. There are many. And I do believe in life, we end up with the people we should be with. We end up, if we follow our instincts and not try to push our own will and let it flow, we end up with the perfect mentor and mentee. And yes, you have to say no. You actually have to say no to this relationship if you can't commit lovingly and for all the right reasons. But try to explain why first and then say no, because initially someone will feel rejected. But believe me, you're getting them to where they should be. And I hope your life is beautiful, JT. And thank you, Amanda, for the question as well.
Well, thank you, Professor Deb. Well, that's all the time we have today for questions and answers on mentoring. This has been a very vibrant discussion. And thank you, Professor Deb. You've given us a lot to think about. For those of you who may be on the seminar who are looking for a mentorship opportunity, please know that Rosen College alumni have a mentoring program that you can participate in. The applications are still open until, I believe, Sunday. So look for that information and apply. You can find it on the Rosen College website as well. There will be another Research Recovery Reskill webinar in 2 weeks. on October 1st. Actually, that's next week. Sorry, at noon, we will begin our 4-part series on people working or not working in isolation, coping tools for the hospitality industry. You can see on your screen now, we have the names of that 4-part series, and there's some interesting topics there that I think will really help us as our industry has been severely challenged during the pandemic. The first topic of discussion is mental health strategies for dealing with isolation. And as many of us are working from home, we are dealing with working in isolation. Please visit the Rosen College website and click on Professional Development in the Academics drop-down menu at the top of the homepage to find the complete list of information on the Research Recovery and Reskill webinars and to register for upcoming sessions as well. There are 7 webinars to go through this season, through the fall. They will go through Thursdays ending on November the 12th. So this was our first one. Thank you, Professor Deb, for kicking us off for the fall season, and we have 6 more to go. Also note that Rosen College has several certificate programs for alumni and degree programs. They are listed also on the website, so you can go there and find something that suits your needs. Thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of your day.